mindtality. So I start to think at my job, the smaller task can be picking up the living room where I work, to throwing out the trash, to wiping down the tables. Those are small things, but the small things are also big things. Those are things that often get overlooked. Those are things that a lot of people don't do. So it's important for me to start with the small things and then excel to the big things. Hey, what's up, you guys? I'm Rodolfo. I'm the host.
And I'm Eric Ogaz, co-host.
Welcome back to another podcast, the Mindtality podcast, that is. And for those who are just joining us this week, the purpose of this podcast is to bring you some life-changing words, some life-changing affirmation, inspiration, and it's regardless of your situation. We're here for you on a weekly basis. And the purpose of this podcast is to help you build a positive mindset and then a warrior mentality. And this is going into every single week. So if you had a bad week last week, this is a brand new week to start off fresh. And you're starting it off right by listening to our podcast. And I'm going to be opening this up with the icebreaker. And Eric has no clue what the icebreaker is, as usual, because I typically do the icebreakers the day of. And this week is, Eric can see on the document here, it's random scenarios in Rodolfo's life. So this is like 5 things that I've experienced this week. And I want to know whether, I want to hear Eric's opinion on it, to be fair. So first up, Eric, so I recently got into comics. And so I go to this comic book store. I'm not going to say what location. I'm not going to say what the name is because that's bad karma on my end, I think. I go to the comic store and the owner isn't wearing a face mask. Is he right or wrong?
Depends. How far was the counter from you to him?
It was a smaller store, so to say the least, it was a smaller store.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and say he was in the wrong.
Okay, I think he was in the wrong. I don't think it's that serious. Like you just put on a face mask, you know?
Yeah, and, my professor, he will take off his face mask during a lecture.
Interesting.
But the difference is that he is much further away and has like a set of guidelines in which students can't cross. So at least it's somewhat protective and distance within it. But that's too close, I think, in the store.
Small store, yeah, small store. Okay, yeah, I think we both agree in it being in the wrong. All right, second here. So I go to the doctor's. I have a doctor's visit, and I go, and there's like 4 or 5 older people there, and you know how they'll call your name, like blah blah blah. Well, the nurse or whomever doctor was like Clifford. And I like kind of like I turned and I was like, is it just me or is that a sweet name? I was like, Clifford, okay. What do you think, Eric?
First of all, I'm not a fan of the doctors. Second of all, Clifford, they refer to you as Clifford? Is that
No, it was an older gentleman.
Oh, as a name?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, that was his name.
That is interesting. You know what? I like it. I think Clifford is a unique name. I'm very about the unique names. I don't like an older name names.
Too. Yeah, it's like an older name. Like I'm assuming it is. Like it's an old school name. So I thought that was a sweet name. I figured I'd share that with you. The third thing here is I come home from work last night and I asked my fiance what was for dinner. And it's like steak and Brussels sprouts. And I kind of like, I don't want steak. And I definitely don't like takeout. I had takeout like 2 times this week. And I don't like it more than 2 times a week. It starts getting too much. So I decided to dice up the steak with diced onions, with diced jalapenos, a slice of lime, shredded cheese, diced tomatoes. Am I wrong for that? Or...
I think you're wrong for not. I think you're wrong. I think you're wrong for not wanting steak. Who doesn't ever want steak?
I just made some steak tacos. Am I wrong for that, Eric?
You're not wrong for making some steak tacos. You're wrong for not wanting steak. Steak is amazing.
I had to have a little something with it. Yeah, I agree. I mean, a little bit of steak sauce wouldn't have hurt, but I wanted steak tacos. I just didn't want steak itself. Okay, the fourth thing. Am I the only person who smashes their first cup of coffee, like just chugs it, is feeling good about themselves, throws up a second one, brews the second one up, and then just leaves it there cold?
That is all you, brother.
You take one sip and it's
That is
just cold for the rest
that
of
is
the
all
time.
you, brother. I no, I could never do that. That's all you. I
Okay.
drink my cup of coffee. I enjoy it. I definitely don't chug it. It's one of those enjoying things. It's part of the waking up process.
Okay.
And you kind of like mentally wake yourself up as you drink the coffee.
Right.
But chugging it, unless I'm drinking a Red Bull, I'm not chugging my coffee.
Yeah, like I wait for it to get to like that peak where it's like not too hot, not too cold, and then I just like two. No, I'm not like shotgunning the coffee. I just wait for that peak and take advantage of it. But I feel so accomplished. I'm like, got my first cup of coffee in. I'm still waking up. Let me start my second. That's what I did yesterday. I finished the first one with breakfast, felt good about myself, brewed up the second one, took one sip while I was getting ready for work, and then came home from work yesterday and the cup was just full. Cold. Okay.
Take it to go.
Last one, Eric. Last one. Do you hate as much as I do when you grab the pitcher of salt? It's like the one you buy in the store, and you have to like lift up that metal lever.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the most cringiest thing in the world because it like hits your pink under your nail. Am I the only one who hates doing that?
Yes, and they're always very faulty. They break on you a lot of times. And when I over time they break on you and you're trying to pour the salt in your salt shaker or your salt dispenser thing, and it's always impossible because it's like sideways and it leaves a little gap so that it's going down the little metal piece,
right.
But it also is coming out on the side where it's not supposed to be coming out. So those things are difficult.
Those things break way too easily. But to me, it's so cringy. Like even thinking about having to, and it's like it's not even fair how like level it is when it's pushed down. Like you have to like sink your nail in and then pull it up. It's just, to me, it's the most cringiest thing because it hurts my fingernails. And even speaking about it, I'll have to like grab my fingertips because it hurts. And you don't even know which finger to use. Like, and then you kind of have to be like strategic about it. There needs to be like some type of tool attached to it or something. Let's see here. And I think that's everything. Those are the scenarios for Rodolfo's life that I went through this week. Let me know if you guys can relate or if I'm just weird. But without further ado, Eric, do you want to introduce the topic of the week?
Yeah, I have a feeling they're just gonna comment and say you're weird, Rodolfo. But yeah, so this week we're talking about purpose, what that looks like, and in our lives as well, what we perceive as purpose. So first of all, Rodolfo, what is your purpose?
Good question, Eric. Definitely, I thought about this a little bit more, and my reasoning behind it. So my purpose right now is to be the best employee I can possible. And you guys are probably asking like how cheesy, like why? It's definitely an easy answer. I finished college, I don't play sports, and I don't have kids. So that right now is my main focus. That's my purpose right now in life, is to be the best employee I can possible. Now, to break this down and to keep it themed around purpose, I'm going to be going over the the short-term version, like short-term perspective, a short-term mentality behind purpose. And you're probably like, what does that even mean? Well, I'll answer that for you. So I'm going to be giving you 2 points about a short-term version of purpose. Now, the first point for me is acknowledging your current place in life. For me, I just shared it with you guys. I finished college, no longer in sports, I have no kids. So the only thing that's left for me is to exceed is obviously to be a good fiance and to do well as an employee. For those who are still in school, your main purpose right now should be school. That should be your main focus, because that is what you're investing in. So to really build a foundation, a short-term foundation, a purposeful short-term foundation, is to, one, acknowledge where you're at in life. Are you in school or are you not? Are you employed or are you not? You know, what's your current place in life? And number two is your perspective. The second thing for me is to become a great employee and to maintain this short-term perspective, this short-term mentality, is to excel as an employee. So I start to think at my job, the smaller tasks can be picking up the living room where I work, to throwing out the trash, to wiping down the tables. Those are small things, but the small things are also big things. Those are things that often get overlooked. Those are things that a lot of people don't do. So it's important for me to start with the small things and then excel to the big things, doing intakes, and just executing every area, whatever it may be. I don't want to get too specific with my work, but I don't want to neglect any area, small or big, in my workplace. I want to execute in all areas, and to me, Eric, that is my purpose right now. Now, for you, what is your purpose, Eric?
Yeah, so before I go into that, I kind of want to touch on something you had just said of doing small things to equal out to bigger things. And I think that is a very big point that you had made, because if you can do small tasks and do it well and precise and on time, it shows a lot, because then it can prove in the later run when you're trying to do bigger tasks, you've done it before, you know how to do it, and you're trusted with it. You can accomplish it, because if you take detail and consideration of work in small things, then that's going to be 10 times fold when you're doing bigger things. And I think that was a really important point that you had made, to keep in mind. But yes, for my purpose, is more long term. I'm trying to position myself and think of more of a where I'm going to be in the future. So for that, it's to create a sustainable life, for me and my family. I want my kids to be able to go to college. I don't want my family to have to worry about money. So I'm working now, and I'm trying to put myself in a position to create that sustainable life in the future, long-term goals. It's to also just have a leadership role. I've always been very comfortable in a leadership role, on teams, on groups, everything. I've always been very comfortable in a leadership role, and to me, I think that is one of my strengths, is to be in that role, but not as a leader to dictate and tell people what to do, but more of a leader as in I can recognize others' abilities within their position or their job, and delegate it to have put them in the place that I think they're going to succeed best, but not only succeed best, to where I think that they want to be. I don't know about you, Felix, but putting people in positions where they are wanting to strive in, they perform 10 times better than positions that they don't want to strive in. And to me, I very good at recognizing that. And so for me, my purpose is just to create this sustainable life for my family, and be in a leadership role where I can help others make a difference, and help my family as well. But we talked about long and short term here for a little bit, Rodolfo, but you know, let's break that down. How do you build a short term mindset, and what does it look like?
Definitely. But before I jump into that, I would like to also acknowledge one of your points, and it was what you're talking about is you're using your strengths, and you're using your strengths to help others discover theirs. And I like that, because a lot of the times our purpose in life are founded in our strengths. So if you guys haven't already in your life, or today, or this week, or this month, sit down and try to analyze your strengths, try to evaluate your strengths, and maybe that'll help you decide where you want to go in your next season in life. But to answer your question, Eric, how do I build a short-term mindset? And what does that look like for me, you guys? It's simple. And I've said this before, and I'm a broken record, and I'll say it until the day I die. You need to journal. You need to have some type of accountability with yourself. You don't need to go running for a 45 minutes. Maybe that's your type of journaling, but I honestly feel think about the caveman days. What did they do? They wrote on walls. They wrote what happened that day. They wrote what they experienced. They didn't want to forget, whether it was instructions how to start a fire, how to kill a bison or whatever. They scribed it. They did tactical movement. They used their hands, and they sat down and they took time out of their day to record what happened. That's in our ancestral blood. That's us. We excel from writing things down. Biblically, the commandments were carved in stone. So throughout our history, the Egyptian walls and everything consists of for some reason, I don't make the rules. We just happen to do really well when we write things down. So my key and my advice to you is, especially for a short-term goal, is to write it down. Now there's two ways to do this. If you're starting your day, I know a lot of you prefer to journal. If you start your day, this is called visualizing your day. Vision. This is a vision session. You want to kind of give it like an A through Z. Okay, today is 8:30 a.m. I woke up. I'm brewing coffee right now. I have an appointment at this time. I have work at this time. I plan on being home at this time. That's the first way. The second way is reflection, where at the end of your day, you've taken time where you're like, okay, today this is what happened. I planned on this, but this didn't happen. This is what happened. And you want to keep yourself accountable. So if you feel off for like 2 or 3 days, you just go back to your journal and figure out, what did I do differently? Or what could I have done differently? That's my advice to you. So you have the vision session, which is before you start your day, and then reflection session at the end of your day. Again, the reason for this is accountability, and I just wanted to say, we're re-emphasizing the short-term focus. We're keeping ourselves accountable on a daily basis, and this type of method builds purposeful mentality, because it shows whether or not you were hitting your marks, and it shows what you need to do to hit your marks. It keeps you on a short leash. And the reason why I emphasize journaling a lot is because I know that I'm no exception to the rule of us being human and going back to our old ways. So Eric, I spoke about some short-term mindset foundational tools that we could use. Do you have any long-term mindset tools that we can use?
Yes, definitely. But before I get into that question, I wanted to touch up on a point that you had made. And you had said, when you're journaling and you have an off day, right? You have a day that's not going your way, or something went wrong, or whatever you might say. You had said that you can go back into your journal and see what was different and what changed. And that really is the mindset that we're pushing for, is that it's okay to mess up. It's okay to not have days or days where you're down. But the mindset is that you're going back and you're trying to find ways to improve yourself. You're looking back and you say, okay, what can I do differently today that I didn't do the other day, or that I'm trying to do to better myself, to put myself in a situation where I can succeed. And I think that's the mindset here that we're pushing, is to constantly be looking for ways of improvement. And that's huge in having the right mentality. But as far as long term, and some examples of what that looks like in purpose, I talked about positioning a little bit. I wanted to break that down, but it's absolutely 100% positioning yourself. And what I mean by that is putting yourself in the right situations with the right people at the right time. And how can I break that down a little bit more? for me, I'll just talk from my perspective and kind of how I'm positioning myself, and maybe that could be a better example. I'm trying to go to law school. I just got accepted, but I want to put myself back 3, 4 years from that. I'm into the criminal justice system. Okay, so I position myself as an explorer, which, if for those of you who don't know, it's similar to Boy Scouts, but they're within the law enforcement, and you get to go on ride-alongs with the deputies and things like that. So I wanted to learn from a deputy and law enforcement how they work their career. So I'm positioning myself already within the criminal justice field. I'm putting my foot in the door. I'm getting connections with officers. I'm learning how criminal justice works. I'm meeting connections with other explorers and learning how to be a leadership role, which is something that I want to do in the future. So I'm trying to put myself in a position where I am a leadership role in something small, just like we had talked about similar with Rodolfo was saying, doing small things at first. And I actually think too that your short time goals or your short time purpose is in correlation to your long term purpose. Whether or not you see it as in correlation or if it's intended to be, it absolutely is a contributing factor to your long term purpose without a doubt. But when I position myself in as an explorer, my intentions were to be in that position so that I can start to learn and start to be within that realm of criminal justice and learning how to be in a leadership role. And then that just further went on to mock trial within high school, internships with the attorney's office. I'm already positioning myself within the career field that I want to be in. And I'm meeting the people and being in roles that I'm trying to be in the future. So that way, when it comes to that long-term goal and it's ready and I'm ready to achieve it or obtain it, I've already set myself in that path and I've already kind of established myself. Whereas if I don't position myself, I don't have that prior knowledge or experience to be able to perform when I get that long-term goal. And building connections too was the big part for me. That's helped me get a lot through my life. When you're in your actions with your short-term goals or your day-to-day activities, building your connections and relationships with people can go a really long way. Just reaching out and taking the moment to care for somebody else and ask them, how are you doing? What can I help you with? It really goes a long way in your long term because you may have something that you need help with, something that you need to work with, and you're like, hey, I remember that one time I talked with Rodolfo, and I realized that he was really good at this. Maybe he can help us out, and those connections really go long term because you never want to burn any bridges. That's a really, really bad thing to do because you want to keep those connections with people. And then lastly, it's just visualizing yourself in that position. I think we had talked about this earlier in our visualization podcast with visualizing the things that you want and being in there. If you want a car, sit in your room on a chair, close your eyes, feel what the steering wheel feels like, what the smell of the car is like. Pretend like you're putting your foot on the gas. I mean, these are all things that you need to be putting your mindset through to prepare you for those goals that you want, the purpose in your life. And to know what that is you need to visualize every detail that you can. But Rodolfo, we talked about purpose, and there are a couple of different ways to view it. And I think that was I kind of broke down mine a little bit, but I want to hear your perspective of how you view purpose. What is purpose?
Yeah, man, that was really powerful that you said, Eric. And for the audience, I need you guys to really understand and see how specific and intentional Eric is with his career. And purpose to me is exactly that. It's intentional. It's very purposeful. Not much can cause you to waver from that goal, from that purpose. And so to choose one word, you guys, one word to really sum up purpose for me, like how I interpret purpose, is decision. You make a decision and you make it work. And I'm not saying that like you can't have a change of career or a change of heart about something. But what I'm saying is, when you do hone into something, don't mess with yourself. Make a decision and make it right. And to me, that's what purpose is. Commit. You can't dish out something and then not be able to take it yourself. So if you choose whatever career it is, to be a mechanic, to be a bodybuilder, to be a student, do it. Full send it. You know what I'm saying? And it's not singular, so there may be multiple purposes in your life. Eric talked about multiple purposes of his life on the podcast today. He wanted to be a provider, he wanted to be a leader, he wanted to be attorney. There's multiple things that you can achieve in your life, but the thing is, you have to decide what and then how to go about it. So again, it could be a position at work that's your purpose that you're trying to achieve. It could also be a degree. It could be a lifestyle. It can be an achievement, you know? So it's not singular. It could be multiple things, but on top of all that, it's decision first. It's a choice that you need to make. So that's definitely what it is to me. Eric, did you want to have your own spin on that?
Yes. Just as far as the positioning part, I think that is the most important part within having a purpose, is, or at least achieving the purpose, shall I say, is positioning yourself within your field. I mean, sometimes your positioning doesn't have to relate to what you want to do. Like, for example, if you want to be in a leadership role, sometimes it takes you to be in a position where you listen to others, and you have to learn what a real leader is, right? You need to visualize and see for yourself what it is that it makes a good leader and what it is that doesn't make a good leader. And you do that all through positioning yourself in a position to uh, listen to a leader, take control from a leader, from be on the other side of the shoe, from that perspective. And I think that's essential with purpose and finding your position within that.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And that's going to conclude the podcast, right, Eric? Do you want to
Yes.
share the quote for the week?
Yeah. So our quote for the week, I heard this and it kind of reminded me when we were talking about our podcast and kind of what we're going to talk about today. And the quote says, hours for a company and then go home and not work on your own goals. You're not tired, you're uninspired. And that was from Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. What do you think about that, Rodolfo?
Yeah, I mean, so obviously he's referencing a full-time job by saying don't work 8 hours for a company and then go home. I think it's very true. I think what he's acknowledging that yes, you do have to make a living for yourself, but he's more on the aspect of don't sell yourself short. Do what you need to do, but then also do what you decide to do for yourself. And eventually the goal is to flip it around where you're doing what you want to do, and then you don't have to work for someone else. But to touch on the last part is you're not tired, you're uninspired. I don't want Eric and I to come off as like egotistic or like Mr. Know-it-alls, but more on the perspective of you can do it, and these are the tools that we're trying to provide for you to make it a lot easier for you to do it. I think a lot of the times people count themselves out of school or out of a internship or out of a program because they don't have the tools to excel, to get through it. And that's why we're having this podcast, is because it's a lot easier than you think. You just need guidance. I bounce ideas and things off of Eric all the time, and then he does with me too. And that's what we're doing with you guys. We're bouncing idea off of you guys, and so I don't want us to come off egotistic, but more of like, you guys can do it. You're not too tired. You just need some help or some tips. So that's kind of my perspective on it, Eric.
Mhm. Yeah, that reminds me of a time when my mother was going through her schooling, and she was taking care of me at the same time as a single mother. And just to think of the amount of work and time she would spend on that computer, typing away, trying to get her degree, and me being a pain in the butt, always causing trouble and being a kid, is just as kids do. And then on top of that, she's working her job and trying to provide and take care for me. But at the end of her 8 hours, she would come home, she would take me to my baseball practice. I'd see her, typing on a computer, trying to earn her degree. She was using the work ethics and inspired to be better and become better. And that really inspired me to see her work ethics like that, and to see like, wow, this can be done. This is my mother's laid the path, the road, and shown me what it's like to be like that. And I think that really shows that after, even if it is 8 hours of work and you are tired, there's times where you're going to be. I've had it plenty of times myself, but you got to think to yourself, do I want to be better tomorrow than I was today? Because if not, then you're just going to continue to do the same thing. But if you're wanting more, if you want to achieve more and you want to have things or be with people, then you need to find ways to better yourselves by being inspired, finding your purpose. And that's kind of what we're talking about right now, is finding what it is that inspires you, what gets you going in the morning, or what gets you wanting to work harder after that 8 hours. For my mother, it was wanting to have a better life for me and her. So after her 8 hours, she would get on that computer and type away, and not just submit assignments, but submit assignments to have an A, trying to achieve the best you can at whatever you do. Because at the end of the day, that's your name that you're putting your work and you're signing your initials on. So it better be something that you're proud of, and it better be something that you wouldn't want, that you're okay with sending and submitting. So finding your inspiration and finding your purpose is definitely what I got from this quote. Because no matter what happens throughout your life and what you're doing throughout your day, you're gonna find time for that, and it's gonna benefit you in the long run.
I definitely agree. 100%. Well said, sir. So that's going to do it for this week's podcast, you guys. Thank you for tuning in once again. We hope that there's some tools that you guys can use to help you with this week. Eric and I wish you the best, and we will see you guys again next week.
Have a good one.